Hello and welcome to another 3D printing video. Today I'm going to be talking about plastic. So I have actually a few things to talk about. So I'm going to talk about the process of how the plastic gets into the printer, and I'm also going to talk about the cost of the plastic. So first off, PLA. PLA is a great plastic. It's actually made mostly out of plants, some other stuff added sometimes, and most of those plants are corn. So it's a really cool plastic, and it works really well with 3D printing. So this is a spool of PLA. It's red. This was really cheap. This was $16, $15.99. I got it off of Amazon, and it works okay. So with plastic, with filament, what you do is you put it here on the spool holder, and with my printer this how it works. And you take the filament and you feed it into the extruder. So this part right here is the extruder. Okay, so that's the extruder. So what this part does is my little poopy emoji spins and pushes this stuff through this direction. So it pushes it into my printer. And from there, it pushes it through this tube into the extruder. Or actually, no, this is the extruder, into the nozzle. So the nozzle heats up and gets really hot, and then basically melts the plastic as the extruder pushes it out the nozzle. And so that's basically how it works. So there's nothing really special you need to do with the spool once you have your 3D printer working. That's basically it. I had someone comment and request some information about PLA. And PLA isn't the only type of plastic. There is ABS, PETG, flexible, TPU. There's all kinds of plastic, but PLA is kind of the popular one right now. Now to part 2 of this video, the actual cost of 3D prints. So I have my fantastic popcorn tin of 3D prints that I'm not necessarily using at the moment. And so in here we have a Skyrim glow-in-the-dark dragon skull. This was printed in glow-in-the-dark PLA by Solutech, and the amount of money that I paid for the spool of filament was $25. So that's 1 kilogram of plastic. So that equals out to each gram of it costing about 2.5 cents. So if I weigh this right here, I'm going to turn this on and put this Skyrim dragon skull there, and I'm going to change it to grams. That is 22 grams. So you take 22 times 2, and that's 44, and then you add half of that, which is 11, so you get 55. So that cost me 55 cents. That's it for that. There's also some other pretty cool stuff that I have. How about this? This is a failed print. It's my snowball. A print was working fine until it got ripped off the build plate, and the printer's like, oh, let's keep going. So it kept printing on top of nothing, and it created this ball of failed print. So this was 34 grams, and this was printed in PETG, which was $24 a kilogram, so 2.4 cents. So I'm going to round it to 2.5. And so if you take that times 34, you get 85. So it cost me 85 cents of failed print. I also have this guy. This was printed in PLA. I call him Darth Einstein. It was models that I mixed together. And he weighs 10 grams. And so that spool of filament cost $22, which costs 2.2 cents per gram. And at this, it costs 22 cents. That's it. So 3D printing is pretty cheap. But what gets expensive is the 3D printers themselves and the upkeep on them. And even though this costs $22, that's not very cheap. 3D prints themselves don't cost a whole lot because there's such a small amount of plastic. Now that becomes a different story when you start printing with something this big. You can get a lot of prints out and it uses up the spools a lot faster, which can in turn make 3D printing cost a lot more. But once you get through the initial cost of the 3D printer, it gets pretty cheap. And 3D printing is a really great thing to do. Okay, what have we learned today? We've learned that PLA can basically just gets fed into something very hot, which then squirts it out and makes something amazing over a very long time. It takes hours to print stuff. We've also learned that 3D printing small figurines can be very cheap and inexpensive and a great way to get a bunch of toys. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.